And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. April 22nd, it's Tuesday. It's 2025. And as usual, serious talk on everything that affects you. With no agenda, no ulterior motive, no bias. And we have to bring that up every single day now. Because we used to do a radio show that was basically the markets and the economy. What's happening in the markets? What's leading? What's lagging? What to look at, be in, what to avoid. What we thought's happening in the real world and in business. We used to bring CEOs on the show. We had Scott McNeely of Sun Microsystems, Linda McMahon of the I think it was WWF at that time, IBM, Gary Kelly when he was the CFO for Southwest Airlines. But we stopped because we could never get any CEO to ever say anything untoward. Everything was great. We never really talked politics. We never talked about the Fed. We never talked about printing money. Did we ever even talk about who was running the White House? Every now and then. But then something happened. We noticed the compassionate conservative George Bush spending and putting us in a lot of debt. So we had to talk about it. And of course, the Iraq War. We had to talk about it because, not on whether it was the right thing to do. As you know, they handled it piss poor. But when all was said and done, our debt and deficits were going much higher. And then we got to Barack Obama. And he was worse. Debt and deficits. And then the big lies. You can go Google Jonathan Gruber, and you will see a video of him. He's one of the architects of Obamacare that he admitted they had a lie about Obamacare and how it was done and the costs and the taxes and calling it this. And the reason they were able to get away with it is because they knew you were stupid. That's what Obama thought of you, as he quietly and silently raised taxes on your investment gains in Obamacare. Just letting you know. As our debt and deficits skyrocketed. And of course, at that time, Ben Bernanke, the central banker, who was one of the causes of the massive outage in the banking system, was able to convince, under Bush, by the way, it was Bush, not Obama, $800 billion of our tax dollars to save their arses. And you know who they are? The frauds, the crooks at the financial companies that nobody got indicted because they're so well connected to Washington, D.C. So we had to talk about it. And then Bernanke says, I got to print money. Don't worry, it's temporary. Another lie. And then Yellen came in, and she was the next, but she was part of the Ben Bernanke contingent. Ground zero. So we had to talk about it as debt and deficits skyrocketed. Oh, and who came in after Barack Obama? Oh, a guy named Donald Trump. Skyrocketing debt and deficits and spending. Even though right before the election he said, oh, I'm Donald Trump, art of the deal. I can lower debt and deficits easily. And he came in and became just another politician and spend our way into oblivion. And then Joe Biden, you know Joe, we consider him the worst ever president. Ever. Why? 4 years of lying. 4 years, I take it back, 3.5 years of open borders, just letting anybody in and not vetting, and then flying them in airplanes at 2 a.m. to different cities. And then 6 months before the election, they see their poll numbers on immigration are worse than root canal and jock itch. So all of a sudden, immigration was important and the border was important, and they got their corrupt friends at the media to start talking about it and blame the Republicans and run with it. And of course, $2 trillion yearly deficits, massive inflation caused by about 80% Jay Powell, 20% his out-of-control spending, his corruption, his giveaways. Don't tell me about the women of Afghanistan back in the dark ages that the media is completely blacked out. So we had to talk about all this stuff. Had no choice. Do you know why? As we stayed on this show, it affects you, your life, your job, your industry. Because we're now at $36 trillion of debt. Actually, I think we're about $37 trillion of debt. $37 trillion of debt. For our first trillion of our tax dollars are going to interest. Not to the roads or bridges. Not to the elderly. Not to the young kids that may be hungry. Not to the indigent. Not to schools. Not to anything. Interest. Because of them. And Social Security. As we have told you, it's a Ponzi scheme. What's the definition of a Ponzi scheme? Somebody else paying you off. All you retirees that are getting your Social Security right now, that's not your money. You're getting your Social Security from the workers today because all the money's gone. But they say, don't worry, it's IOUs. And in 2004, when I did a radio show from the White House, because they wanted to talk about Social Security, and I interviewed people, the next week I got a call. They dropped it all because they said they're losing politically. And anytime it's brought up, oh, you're throwing grandma off the cliff. So we have to talk about it. Well, we're going to have to talk about this administration today because it's run amok. And we want them to succeed so badly. What a wonderful job they've done on the border. They're saving lives. People are not dying crossing the river anymore or in the back of trucks. Under Biden, tons of missing children. But there are other things that going on that need to be talked about. Why? Because it affects you. And it affects going forward. But the first thing I want to do, and I haven't even introduced ourselves today, we'll do that in a bit. I just want to let you know this week, the Dow's up 13 points. 13.97 this week. The NASDAQ this week is up 13.97. The Dow this week is down, let me make sure I got this right. The Dow this week is up 40 some odd points. The S&P 500 this week is up a measly 5 points. 0.1%. The Dow is up 1,016 today after being down 971 today. The NASDAQ was up 429 today. After being down, I got to get the number right. After being down, 417 yesterday. These wild swings. We'll start with that, and we'll explain everything else. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. Unbelievable, huh? On Monday, the Dow's up 971. Down 971. The next day, just above 1,000. What the hell's going on? Well, first, let me state for the record, Tesla reported numbers, and they were terrible. Their expectation was 41 cents. They came in at 27. The expectation of revenues, 21.34 billion, came in at 19.34 billion. But guess what? The stock is only down $3 to $238 on just terrible numbers. Why? I would suggest two things. It's already down from $488, and I'm gathering they're going to be talking up robo-taxis and all that crap. But also, listen carefully. I think there's a chance here that the market is making its first higher low. And that's a day after we dropped almost 1,000 Dow points. What does a higher low mean? It means we went down to a number, rallied up, dropped back down, let's say halfway or maybe 2/3 of the way, and stops going down and rallies off of a higher low. We think there's that chance, which could give some more impetus to go higher in the near term. From the highs, all we have had is drops and bearish wedges. The way to stop that is a bearish wedge to only come down a certain amount and build a higher low, and then do better. The jury is still out. Trust is low. Tolerance is low. But today was a very strong day. The day after, a pretty ugly day yesterday. Now notice I said trust is low, tolerance is low. Why? Because the action has been insane. About 8 days ago, they did the pause, and we rallied up 2,000 some odd points in a half hour. 2 days before that, there were rumors of the pause, and we rallied up 2,500 in an hour and gave it all mostly back because they decided to change their mind that day. The high of last Monday on the Dow, if I got my bearings right and my screens work, actually the high of last Tuesday was 40,791. You hit a low yesterday of 37,830. In 4 days, 40,791 to 38,170. You add that up. So maybe, just maybe, the market is exhausted to the downside near term. I don't think we want to go any further than that. My screens today were green as greens could be, except for gold, where I told my peeps today, if you're interested in buying gold or gold miners, you probably want to wait as they went vertical. And the other part of the equation why gold went vertical is because the dollar just has been getting smoked, and that probably hit a low today. And that's why we may get some upside testing in the days ahead. Is it possible we have seen the final low? Anything is possible. We're open to any and all outcomes, but a chance for a higher low, notwithstanding a crap load of earnings reports coming out, starting with Tesla. And boy, oh boy, those were crappy numbers, but the stock is it actually up in the aftermarket now? It may be up $1 or $2. There you go. That said, Intuitive Surgical, important medical name, is down $30 in the aftermarket. You catching my drift? You just don't know what earnings are going to do. That's why as we get close to any earnings reports, we ain't looking to buy that stock until afterwards. So strong day, strong advanced decline day. I have no complaints of today as I speak. The NASDAQ volume was higher than yesterday. That would state that this is a William O'Neill confirmation follow-through day, which is a characteristic that has always occurred before a bullish move, but not every follow-through day has led to a bullish move. But good to see. Tomorrow's another day, and as we stated, a ton of earnings to come out, and maybe it's noteworthy that Tesla's not getting smoked on crappy as all heck numbers, which may mean exhaustion of sellers. I also want to mention Bitcoin, which broke back above the 50-day yesterday, nicely up today. That may be a little bit of a harbinger also. We'll see. And again, mucho earnings to come out, and we don't know what's going to win. We don't know what's going to lose. We don't know what's going to gap up, what's going to gap down. We'll just be paying a lot of attention. And may I state for the record, there is a ton of earnings to come out in the days and weeks ahead. Oh, I got SAP reported earnings. A German software company closed at 252. It's 265. Nice move. Was 294 about 8 weeks ago, but nice move. And maybe, just maybe, if things are wrung out, WRUNG, wrung out, maybe bad news is good news. We'll see. We have yet to do our final scans today, but very good day today after a gross day yesterday. What does tomorrow bring? Beats the heck out of me. I'm just pissed the Knicks lost last night to the Detroit Pistons. They better get their act together. They should not go out in the first round. They've got a good team. Boy, is that irritating. So that's the market. Most everything green. Most everything is in downtrends, bigger picture. But the near term, maybe have that little higher low. Up next, confusion. This is the one only Investor's Edge. Ladies and gentlemen, because I am a critic on some things of the President Trump, I get people email me, not many, because I think most people know me. My music's still going. It's still going. My music's still going. Is anybody there? Thank you. No, it's still going. It is Boston, though. We critique them to help them. We're not trying to persuade anybody. We're trying to give them a dose of logic and what the many are thinking, because I got news for you. We're getting a lot of emails from people that love Trump, that won't vote for him again. Well, they can't vote for him again, but you get my point. They're pissed off. And not just because the markets are down. They're seeing the same things we're seeing. And the first question is just, who are they? Who's Donald Trump? I bring that up because he said he's considering raising taxes. What? Yes, they're considering raising taxes on anyone making more than $1 million. Oh, but Gary, they make more than $1 million. No, he's raising taxes. For people that have yelled and screamed about the Democratic Party that proposed raising taxes, it's interesting they're considering raising taxes. Gives me the question of, who are they? Because we're not done. You know, everybody I know was very upset that Joe Biden was paying off student loans with our tax dollars to the tune of about $150 billion of our tax dollars. Breaking contract law in order to buy votes. You see, I don't know if you know this, when a student signs a loan, that means they own money and they're supposed to pay it off. Yet Joe Biden said, we're going to give you, and then he was picking and choosing who he liked. Screw the people that didn't go to college. Screw the people that paid off their loans. You paid off your loans. Do you know Elizabeth Warren was once asked? It's on video. What do you tell the people who paid off their loans? She laughed. And why do I bring this up? Because it was all taxpayer funded, which brings me to the next part. The president is considering giving taxpayer dollars to have a baby. They're considering paying $5,000 for you to have a baby, for women to have a baby, and I think it's only the first baby. But it's our tax dollars. And if I'm going to be pissed off about our tax dollars paying off student loans, why do my tax dollars go to somebody to have a baby? And yes, I know there are child tax credits and this and that. I'm dealing with the here and now, kids. And it calls into question conservative? Tariffs, a tax on us. Conservative? That's just one part of the equation today. Because here's the other part. I'm really tired of their BS. And I'd say it to their face. At 1:11 today, the Treasury Secretary said, we're looking to de-escalate with China. At 1:11 today. And then he said, and by the way, we don't make any of this up. He's optimistic on trade with China. The president came out and said, things are moving in the right direction on China, and that's a quote. Bessent came out and then said a deal is close to being done with China. A quote. The market ramped a couple of 100 points on that. And then said there have been no formal talks with China. The president came out and said things are moving in the right direction on China. Bessent said they've had no formal talks. So why would the president say things are moving in the right direction on China? You catching my drift? This has got to stop. Enough. They don't stop. Then it came out that the White House this is all from them, close to agreements with India and Japan to prevent tariffs, but the final trade could take months. So they're echoing what I already told you, that trade deals usually take a very long time. They don't happen in days. Then they came out and said there's 18 deals on the table, but won't mention who and what kind of deals. You catching the drift? They've got to stop. They're trying to move mountains. They're trying to move the needle. They're trying to move markets. And I worry one day of the boy who cried wolf syndrome. They don't have to do this. Just say we're working on it. We're trying to expedite it. And we know what we have to do. No, they're making it up as they go along. And they are contradicting each other into oblivion. And this isn't just me talking. I'm getting it from people who are MAGA. And if we hear complained about the BS coming from Biden every single day, I've got to call this out. And again, they don't have to. We're working on it. We know what has to be done. Nope. A whole day of contradictions. The good news is, fortunately, the market had a good day, and that's what we are going to be concentrating on. We don't care what the reason why. We don't care. We care about the outcome and reaction, and we think what's happened here near term is the dollar that has been sinking like a stone is now going to do a counter trend and should help the market. Maybe. Why do we say maybe? 1,000 down yesterday, 1,000 up today. And that's after recently 2,000-point moves. So we'll be hopeful. We always believe in us and the business of us. But man, oh man. Exhausting. Exhausting. Moving on. New yearly high list. I've got Kroger, a supermarket. All the golds are now off the new yearly high list. I got a tobacco stock. I got Hertz because somebody's taken a position. Netflix hit a new yearly high today. It was up 75, finished up 51. Remember, that's our number one name, but had to wait for earnings. And the next day is up strong. We'll see how that plays out. And now we'll await a ton more earnings. And I actually think it's decent that Tesla, as I speak now, is flat in the aftermarket. Yeah, it's flat. The option, if it stays that way, the option traders are going to lose a bunch of bucks, because I think there was an 8% whatchamadoogie after the close on which way they were betting on Tesla, up or down. We think that may be exhaustion of sellers, and Tesla is down. Let's call it about 50. It's more than 50% from the highs of December. And let me repeat, the numbers were not good at all. Earnings and sales both down. But I'm sure they'll be talking a big game in the conference call. And I'm sure we'll hear Elon Musk will be done with Doge soon, which we already know. Up next, we'll stick with the markets. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. Thanks for being with us today. Dang, my screens are green. Green as green can be today. Anything that was down today, that's bad news for that stock. What was down today? Northrop Grumman down 67 on their earnings. Raytheon, another defense, down 12. That's about 10% on their earnings. Hey, two names were down. Wingstop was down. I can hardly find the stock that was down today. Canadian National, a rail, was down. Canadian Pacific, another Canadian rail, was down. Ew. Not much else. Kimberly-Clark was down. I guess they didn't sell a lot of diapers. Anyway, good day. So let me say it again. I think there's a chance we just put in a higher low today, and I say that knowing 1,000 down yesterday, 1,000 up today. I say that. I'm also just adding in maybe Tesla's numbers were brutally bad, and the stock's up $1 in the aftermarket after a 50% drop. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised some upside testing from here in a bigger downtrend. So that's really near-term stuff. Farther out, I think the market's got a lot of work to do. What we will do with you, if it does improve, for all I know, we drop 1,000 tomorrow. What usually happens is cream rises to the top pretty quickly. Usually. But of course, we've got earnings that we have to deal with. And we watch them closely. We start posting up all the gaps to the upside and downside. Doesn't matter. We do it without any bias. And as I said, SAP is up nicely in the aftermarket, though I'm seeing where it would open tomorrow. It still needs a lot of work. But Intuitive Surgical's getting yanked. Now down $35. Tesla up $1. Ain't going to do nothing for me. But we're going to recognize that around 220, it's showing some support. Though the number's really bad. And we'll just see how it... Netflix was up, I don't know how much yesterday, only up in the teens. It was up 40 at one time. Boom, up 50 today. Wanted to go up yesterday, but 1,000-point drop was keeping it down. I even said to Charles Payne yesterday that if the market was flat yesterday, it would be up $50. Looks like it did that today. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to scan and scan. We kind of know what we're going to find is near-term lows that maybe can turn into better. I note 3M reported in the Dow was up $10 today, and that was 65 Dow points. And on the minus 1% sales growth, will I have an interest in it? Hell no. Minus 1% sales growth. I noticed McDonald's in the Dow hasn't reported yet. That looks like it's about to break out of a 6-month trading range. On 0% sales growth and a 4% drop in earnings, but I guess people are saying that was part of I guess they had an E. coli incident. Am I correct in saying that? The problem is other restaurants have been smoked. We'd like to see better of the group, though Domino's Pizza is trying to come up the right side right now, but needs a lot of work. Yeah, Domino's needs a lot of work. Dang it. It's not even as where it was in 21. So we're on earnings notice. We're going to continue to pay attention to them. We hope one day they stop with the noise on the tariffs and just get the crap done. And they don't have to do all the extracurricular activity in yapping. We don't get it. If they really believe in the markets and going forward, they can just get the job done. The markets will take care of themselves. But it feels like they're just trying to goose things. And I'm hoping they don't goose it the wrong way, because I got news for you. This year, I'm pretty sure NASDAQ's still down about 16%. The S&P 10. The Russell 15, and that's dead. Even the Russell was up a little bit today. About 2%. If anything changes, we'll let you know. But the theme today, potential for the first higher low. Meaning, we did not go back to the crash lows, and this latest nasty as hell pullback aborted today with today's action. Of course, if tomorrow we drop below today's lows, that would not be good news. That would change that complexion, but I would suggest I think we're okay this second, notwithstanding anything that decides to blow up on earnings reports, and we got one in the aftermarket with Intuitive Surgical. We'll see what tomorrow brings. By the way, tomorrow, Boeing in the Dow, Norfolk Southern, Old Dominion Freight, couple of tobacco stocks. After the close tomorrow, IBM, Lam Research, Las Vegas Sands, O'Reilly Automotive, Chipotle, Alaska Air, Raymond James, Reliance Steel. Yay. Game on. Let's hope. I forgot to mention, this is Gary Kaltbaum, and this is Investor's Edge. Serious talk. And if you don't get this show, check out GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our Twitter feed, which is now X. And if you'd like to email us, just be nice. You'll all have a great evening. Drive carefully when you get home. Do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Stay well. Be well. Serenity now. Good night.